In the bustling streets of Montana, the small diner buzzed with lunchtime chatter. Locals sipped coffee, catching up on gossip, while the smell of sizzling bacon filled the air. The waitress moved swiftly between tables, balancing plates and taking orders with practiced ease. She barely noticed the rumble of an approaching motorcycle until it roared to a sudden stop outside the diner. A lone biker, clad in a weathered leather jacket, dismounted, his boots echoing against the wooden floor. As he stepped inside, the rush of air from his jacket caught the waitress completely off guard, and to her horror, her shirt tore. Shock and embarrassment flooded her face. Her cheeks burned as the diner momentarily fell silent, all eyes on the unexpected mishap. The biker froze, realizing what had just happened. His deep brown eyes widened with concern, and he immediately reached out to apologize. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice sincere and calm. "I didn't mean to," but the words couldn't erase the sudden chaos he had caused. The waitress, still frozen, could barely respond. The tension in the room was thick, but the sincerity in his eyes slowly eased her embarrassment. After the awkward incident, the biker quickly paid for his meal, tipping generously, and stepped back into the cold Montana air. He mounted his bike and started down the snowy trail leading out of town. The roads were empty, the mountains looming silently on either side, and the chill in the air bit at his skin. Snowflakes danced around him as he rode, his mind drifting back to the incident in the diner. He couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something unexpected was waiting for him beyond the town's edge. Suddenly, a movement on the side of the trail caught his attention. Squinting through the snow, he noticed a small figure huddled against a tree. As he approached, he realized it was a young Apache child, no older than 7, shivering violently and alone. The child's clothes were tattered, and his face was pale from hunger and cold. The biker's heart tightened, and without a second thought, he stopped his bike and offered the child his jacket, wrapping him tightly against the freezing wind. He reached into his pack and pulled out a granola bar and some water, handing them to the child. The little one took them hesitantly at first, eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. "It's okay," the biker murmured gently, "you're safe now. Let's get you warm." Slowly, the child began to eat, his trembling subsiding slightly as the warmth of the leather jacket enveloped him. The biker kept a watchful eye on him, knowing that he couldn't leave the child alone in the wilderness. As he carefully mounted his bike again, the child clinging to him for warmth, the biker realized the weight of the day's events. The diner incident seemed trivial now compared to the life he had just saved. The snowy trail stretched endlessly before them, but in that moment, he felt a sense of purpose and responsibility that he hadn't experienced before. Little did he know, this brief encounter would set off a chain of events that would forever change his life and the lives of those around him. The mountains echoed with the roar of his bike, carrying them both back toward town, toward a future neither could yet imagine. 4 days had passed since the biker's unexpected encounter with the starving Apache child. The storm that had blanketed Montana finally began to lift, revealing golden sunlight spilling across the snow-covered mountains. The biker moved about his small cabin, stacking firewood and preparing a simple breakfast, the warmth of the stove filling the otherwise quiet space. The wind whistled through the trees, carrying the crisp scent of pine and snow. Everything seemed calm, almost ordinary. Until a sudden, loud knocking echoed through the cabin door, startling him. The sound was urgent, insistent, and unlike any visitor he had anticipated. He hesitated for a moment, heart quickening. Visitors rarely came this far into the wilderness, and certainly not in the midst of a clearing winter day. With cautious steps, he approached the door and pulled it open. There, standing against the brightness of the morning sun, were 3 Apache women. Their traditional woven shawls wrapped tightly around them, protecting them from the lingering cold. Their expressions were etched with worry, exhaustion, and determination. The biker froze, taken aback by their sudden appearance and the gravity in their eyes. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. The women exchanged glances, their eyes scanning the cabin as if confirming the child's safety before speaking. Then, one stepped forward, her voice trembling but steady. You helped our child," she said, a mixture of relief and gratitude in her tone. The biker nodded slowly, remembering the small boy's frightened eyes and shivering body from just 4 days ago. A deep sense of connection and understanding passed silently between them, bridging the distance of cultures and lives that had otherwise remained separate. The women stepped inside cautiously, their movements graceful yet weary. They carried a quiet dignity, despite their obvious fatigue and the harshness of the journey. As they warmed themselves by the fire, they recounted the child's absence, their desperate search, and their worry for his safety. The biker listened intently, feeling the weight of their worry and the depth of his own responsibility. He realized that the child's survival had depended not only on chance but on the courage to act in a moment of need. What had seemed like a simple gesture now carried profound consequences. Gratitude filled the room, blending with the crisp morning air that filtered through the open window. The women offered heartfelt thanks, explaining their desire to reconnect with the child's family and to honor the bonds that had been strengthened through his kindness. The biker, humbled, felt a warmth that rivaled even the fire's glow. He understood, in that instant, that true bravery was not about daring rides on empty roads or facing danger for thrill alone. It was about protecting, helping, and connecting with others when it mattered most. Small acts could create ripples far greater than any adventure. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the cabin and the surrounding mountains, the biker realized that his life had changed in ways he hadn't anticipated. The women's presence was a living reminder that compassion transcended distance, culture, and circumstance. In their eyes, he saw not just gratitude but trust and hope. And in that moment, he knew that the choice to act, to care, had forged bonds that would endure, shaping a story of kindness and courage in the heart of Montana that neither time nor distance could ever erase. The mountains stood silent witnesses to the power of empathy, and the biker understood that some journeys, though unexpected, were the most meaningful of all.